Being in the top 3, I would like to see a chicken dinner being secured for them.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure once they keep continuing, that will be broken for them. Another team I've been also very impressed with is Yala Esports. Now, again, it's been a while since we've seen them in a global tournament at a global stage, and it worried me, but I really shouldn't be, because the Middle Eastern region as a whole has grown so much over the last 6+ months with lots of competitions, and we've seen it back in the EMEA Championship, right? So for Yala to be doing good, I really shouldn't be surprised, because it's obvious that they've stepped up their game within their own region, as well as the other teams within that region who have already competed at the global stage. So Yala, very, very happy to see you up there with strong results.
To emphasize actually what you're saying, look at the top right of your screen, currently the top players. Ida is currently the top player with 1,133 damage, I believe it was right there, with 7 kills total coming his way. So not only are they doing good on a team-wide scale, they're also doing good on an individual level, especially with Ida getting that clutch play in the first game on Erangel and able to make things a lot easier for his team on that game of Sanhok. But I like it actually, all the top players, I don't know if you saw there, top players, they all from different teams, all from different countries, which is great. Normally you would see tournaments like this, it would be, you know, 3 players of Zeus or 3 players of BTR. No, it's all different, and I love to see that. I also love to see this. They're playing bump-in cards right now. And Reject Scarlet also going to have a little bit of a chase arena with, I believe that was Myth. It is Myth. And they're just going to go their separate ways. It's good old fun over here in the World Invitational. We're having fun in Imperial. It's great.
Well, with this phase 1 that has popped up and it's gone towards a typical southwestern side of the map, it makes sense that maybe Reject want to go a little bit more west of their normal drop spot, so they're already well positioned inside this phase 1 circle. Myth are going to go down to Primorsk, loot up, and then probably rotate up the coastal line of the western side of the map and situate themselves probably to the west of Gatka area. Zeus are going to have South George lootable to themselves, and they'll probably go to Everest is what I would guess they would go, because it's a great starting point to get a lot of information towards Gatka from
Zeus.
Everest for Zeus. And coming into phase 2, they have a lot of space to reposition for themselves. So Zeus, I recommend, will go to Everest.
I think that would be a great play to go for, especially if you want to try and get information of what's happening inside of Gatka itself.
Yeah.
That would be one of the best course of action to do if you want to do so. I would say even stay there until you see phase 2, because you see a lot of circles like this where it is around the position of Gatka fields, and then you have boom, big hard shift up to the northern side, and then the most important position in that entire circle becomes Everest. So if you want to stay there for the long period of time and wait for phase 2 or even phase 3 before you start moving away with the information you gathered, I think that would be an okay course of action for Zeus to take. There are other teams that are got good position in the circle. Is Geek fan widespread inside of Gatka? That is something that we see happen a lot in Imperium. That is, I think, so one of the most famous strats to do when you drop in Gatka fields. As long as he has a car, and if a team tries to contest you, you regroup.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you do. So Geek fam, it's a pretty easy early stage, and hopefully they don't have too many troubles coming their way.
Obviously, it's more clustered on the east with this kind of phase 1 circle. Nasser, Yala, BTR, DS, all kind of somewhat either edge or outside the circle. And that's where the Xavier, who dropped in Pachinki, need to be a little bit aware that if they don't disengage away from that city early enough, they could have 2, 3, 4 teams around them. So I would like to see them, even if they send one player up to Pachinki Hill to be a scout, to be some form of an anchor point to a better position coming in towards the end of phase 1. Either way, they do have to move out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, eventually they're going to have to make things work out for themselves. Going to be seen I8 trying to cross over that bridge. Just like game 1, there was no one going to be gatekeeping it. There was not Reject, there was not A1. So, and yeah, it's a lot earlier too, as you said, and then the circle too. There's no inherent rush this time around. You're safe, and they're just going to be going forward, getting out, peeking, looking for information. If no one's defending, they're going to push. That's how you do it, and it's been working out fine for them so far.
I worry that they're stopping, you know, midway. Maybe they're just getting information, now they're all crossing forward. A1 are a little bit familiar, being a South Asian team as well, might be a little bit familiar with how I8 like to kind of pathfind their way through from the military island. But I worry because they're going quite deep into this phase 1 circle without any information at all. They could get caught out by Reject. But because they're doing it early enough, teams like Reject aren't in any way solidified positionally in this circle, so it's working out for IA for the time being.
Working okay, got to be careful. Duello still inside of Ferry Pier. It seems like UZM is going to be the one to actually have the first contact with a player of Reject. UZM, how are you going to play this one? You're way too far away from the rest of your team. You've got players currently up north and even to the west of his current location. And it seems like Duello maybe wants to go and chase him down. He's not interested in taking the fight. Very clearly, he wants to be able to find a compound or a good spot, clear up that position, and have a team roll into that position. That's the game plan that UZM is currently doing, but it's serving also as a sacrificial lamb, because you are going into the unknown, right, Imperium? And because of that, it could go against you, but seems like despite being spotted away by Reject, you will make it over to this warehouse and will be able to create maybe an opportunity for this team, as they're going to be zooming forward. Okay, they're going in one by one, but they're not losing anyone. As long as it's working, I'm not going to complain.
Now, it's worked out for I8, and in the end, they've kind of found their feet and found their bones, but I do think there is a level of uncertainty on their rotation, which worries me about them, because when they're committing to a rotation, you realistically got to have a plan A, plan B, plan C in terms of where you are going to go, right? And it felt like there was a little bit of, oh no, there's a team here, where do we go now? For about 10 or 15 seconds. Luckily, they didn't get caught out, but it could have been a lot worse for them. They found their spot. It's to the east of Quarry. But moving on over, Valdis. They're still in Roshawk, but they do have GUI that's starting to loop more by Watertown. So thinking forward, coming into the end of phase 1. The Xavier did do what I suggested, which is move out of Pachinki very early, and they've gone quite deep into phase 1 by the Chopsticks area. And interestingly enough, Geek fam have not stayed in Gaka. They've actually opted for more of a hillside area near the Observer Tower to the south of Observatory Tower down the south of Gaka. So I find that a little bit interesting.
Actually, that was exactly what I was going to talk about. You just read my thoughts, Imperium. I was going to mention... Oh, actually, you got to be careful. That's an expensive car sport, bro. You've got to be careful how you use it. But exactly, this is actually a really good position for Geek Fan, because I think they're trying to read and look into the future a little bit and thinking, you got a lot of water over to the western side and also the south. So he's potentially, well, the entire team are expecting maybe the circle to center up, go up north, or maybe even to the east away from some kind of landscape of water. And if you go to the west of Gatka Fields, you got those little hilltops, those little high ground positions. From that spot, you can very easily scout to the east into the center circle as to what's happening. So if you have to go from west to east, it's a lot easier than going from east to west, because you got to go uphill.
Yep.
So because of that, the information game and further rotation potential, I think that's a big brain play from Geek Fam. Of course, if they execute it properly, right?
Exactly. It's all about the execution. You can have the nicest recipes in the world, right? You can have the most expensive, luxurious recipes in the world, but if you don't know how to cook those ingredients, you're not really going to have good food, right?
Why are you talking about me like that? Why you got to be on the spot like that? Like, was it that bad when I cooked you some pancakes, man? Was it? Come on, it's not cool. Not cool, man.
Man, the horror. Oh god. Anyway, just have to clear my throat a little bit. But phase 2 has popped up. It's centered quite nicely, gone up north, and that puts Geek Fam's position. It's not as centered a circle, but I think because it's high ground, it's still incredibly valuable for them.
Exactly. Now, if you have to rotate up north, you see Zeus, you know where also the Xavier are going to be, and you can even spot which team is moving forward. It's going to be I8. They're actually moving down southeast of where they are. So information gain for them is going to be huge, but Zeus has already started moving away from Everest, keeping Zeol still on a somewhat high ground position to gather more intel, but it seemed like they did not want to stay there for an extra phase. Phase 2 was their limit, and then they instantly start moving forward. They're talking about moving. A few teams are going for a little bit of a edge circle rotation, especially A1. They're not going straight for the circle, Imperium. They're wrapping around the southern side into Reject and trying to avoid the fights as much as possible. And seeing A1 do that, you know, I'm okay with it. Teams play edge, and it works great if you play around it properly, of course.
It was also a little bit similar for Yala on the east, along with Nasser. But that was more of a product of the fact that they were already on the east, so that they were threatened with caution. So A1's edge of circle rotation, a little bit more surprising, but I do like it indeed. Fight is going to break out between these two teams, though. Damus is looking to reposition. Going up with the rest of his team as Loka is knocked down, so Yala will be most likely down to 3 players. They have one inside that compound that's outside of Headshot Hills, but Valdis are already there, and they could be putting Yala under even more pressure, Max.
Of derbies happening on this game of Wrangle, interestingly so. Everyone's trying to move forward. Concept will just go and squeeze right in between NASA and also Yala, and there you go. That's one first casualty in this derby race. Bandar will be sent to the afterlife, and NASA's seeing this compound down below. Do they intend to go for the crash onto Yala? Seem like they're just going to be going further, not interested in going for the breach just yet. But now it seems like teams have somewhat solidified decent positions. Valdis looking to play from Headshot Valley and maybe get himself a few opportunities onto Yala. But so far, nothing of value has really happened so for now, just now.
Is it? Are you sure now?
I think so. I think I got it at the end. I think I'm fine.
Okay. Proud of you, man.
Cheers, man.
Proud of you, man. Really good clap for Max for getting his words out. Well, Zeus have a really solid 2-1-1 split. Like, this is the epitome of what Zeus do, right? They have such confidence in their ability to control areas as one player alone that they create such a huge bubble around them. Sometimes it can go away from them, right? It kind of did in the last game when Crypto got an initial kill onto Zeus, right? And that really didn't help them come into late stages of the game. And that can be the hit and miss factor that Leia brought up at the start of the broadcast. But for the most part, the fact that they carry themselves with such confidence in the end should pay off in the long run for Zeus.
Hopefully it will be the case for them, but Blacklist International, another team that we were hoping to see some good things coming out from them, and they have impressed us so far, especially in that first game. They are going for Everest as of right now. They saw Zeus potentially moving out, or maybe not, they just went for the position because they understand the value of such a spot, and they instantly taking control. That's a lot of information coming their way. Navi already moving down from Northern George Pole. They're going to have the clash happening maybe with Zeus, but the circle's going to shift, and when you have a circle like this, in Gatka Fields, wherever it goes, you can have a big migration of teams, and if you're not in a good spot and you have to fight for a compound, it could get tricky, and it goes right on top of the fight currently unfolding between Navi and Zeus. As Navi, they're taking control, they're decimating one by one the entirety of Zeus, as now only Godless is going to be up and ready to go. IC could still give some information as he's down on the side, but there's nothing you can do, there is no escape, and Navi, as Blank said, is or they die early and get 0 point, or they win the game and it's 35. This is looking so far like a 35-pointer.
Oh man, it's the same with Zeus, right? It's like, and I feel bad because I beat them up with that position, but when they lost a player on that radio tower square, they shouldn't have pushed that, right? Because Navi were already closer to them. They already had much better control of that position. And they have the body advantage. You are literally putting yourself in a position, if you full send it in that area, where you are going to be squad up. And it's exactly what happened to Zeus. They should have just cut their losses at that point in the game. But at the end of the day, it opens up control for Navi to hold on inside this phase 3. Geek fam are going to be down south, while Fnatic Zombies does wipe out one of the BTR players.
Yeah, not going to have to come back to life this time as no one goes down, so they'll be able to take themselves one extra kill into the likes of BTR. Still have to move forward, they've got to be careful. A1 are pushing down south, and they might have a little bit of a skirmish happening between these two teams. Reject also complete. I love this rotation from Reject. If we could see the minimap at some point later on, you'll see what I'm talking about. They went for the wide rotate around Fairy Pier all over to the western coastline. They avoided every single fight they could have ever imagined, and then circle. I mean, that's great. If it works, man, I have no issues. This is a great rotate from Reject.
Very clever, quite calculated. Benefited by the fact that Myth have been somewhat slow on their rotations coming away from Primorsk. So open up more of a door. DRS though, the team that won the last game in Sanok with some fantastic rotations up in the north. They're doing something similar. They're on towards that northwestern side of the circle. Yala, outside of Everest. Blacklist still hold on to Everest, but IA taking a couple of shots in their directions. They are trying to settle themselves into a strong position coming into phase 4.
Yeah, it's not going to be too easy if we have a big northern shift, so if they can already start setting themselves up for a rotate, I think that would be really strong. But Myth, and you talked about Myth being a little bit too slow on their rotation, of course Team Myth from Algeria, they are going to struggle the most. I think they're going to suffer the most in this lobby if the circle goes any further away from where they currently are. They're currently in the southwest. They got to move away. Up north is Reject. Up northeast is going to be IA. It's going to be also A1 over to the southeast, and over to the east you also have Zombies. So they are completely surrounded by teams, and they need to try and set themselves up now, which they're trying to do with Roki, trying to actually find himself a good spot. But then it's still not. That is such a hard rotate, and I cannot imagine Myth actually pulling it off without losing 1 or 2 players minimum. Oh, wow, okay.
That centralization in phase 4 around the field that Navi holds onto, you either crash or you stay on the edge. A lot of these teams are going to be playing on the edge of the circle, Max. That's going to create an absolute cluster truck of madness by the side of the road. Last player, BTR, is going to have DS, should I say, Yala. Just a hell of a lot of damage going on through as BTR are indeed wiped out.
Out in 15 for them, and Nasma going to have another clash onto the northern east. Blacklist International versus Valdus. Valdus got the high ground. Apparently they snuck behind Blacklist International, and now they are losing everything. That's 1 player out. They're still up as a 3-man, but even then, this is not easy for them to hold on. Actually, no, down to a 2-man now, as they're in the compound down below. But Valdus, you saw exactly where they went. If you want to crash in a 4v2, all the strength to you. I would personally do that myself. I advocate for it. It's only a 20-game tournament. Every kill will count, and it might make the difference at the very end after the 20 games are done and dusted.
Yeah, but it also makes me think, why didn't Blacklist stay on Everest, realizing that a team might have been wrapping around them, right? The circle shifts away from you. It's phase 4, edge of circle situation. You're better off actually being outside the circle, which means there's a higher chance you can pick a team off, and you're avoiding all the commotion on your entryway in up until the next phase hits up. DS have really gotten a stranglehold over the Xavier and Yala inside this eastern side of the circle. Really good play from the South Korean side.
Well, luckily enough, not going to be spotted by Mafia Ninja just yet, but Mafia Ninja is going to be spotted away. Nima with a DP28. Actually, this is a great weapon. He's just, there you go. That's done. That was, what, 5 seconds, and boom, the entirety of A1 Esports get completely obliterated and destroyed by the entirety of DRS. So really good play. Unfortunately, A1 delayed that rotation. They tried to go for a sneaky rotate just like Reject, but unfortunately for them, it didn't quite work out. As there we go, we said it, we want to see Valdus go for the aggressive play and take down Blacklist International. That's exactly what they do, as they still remain as a 4-man crew with 6 kills to their name. They are absolutely popping off on this 3rd game of the day.
Like, Valdus have gotten 14 kills between 2 games so far, and they're already on 6. That's 20 kills in 3 games. That average is insane at the start of the PMWI. Really strong aggression and control from Valdus Esports. They have absolutely no fear on any kind of breach coming on through, but we are getting into the latter part of phase 4. And you can see most of the teams, they are covering the edge. The only team that's in any way in the center of the circle is Navi to hold onto that radio tower square.
And they show no intentions of moving away from this spot anytime soon. The only time that you're going to be able to move them away is or if the circle moves out, or if you try and go for the full-on push onto them, and that is not an easy feat to achieve. Reject going farm wide in the open fields. DRS is going to be nearby them, so you've got to be careful how you sneak your way forward, and it seems like DRS are alert of what's happening, as that's going to be Nima instantly put down on his knees by a great shot from Sara on the M4. The circle's about to move, so they might have to actually put an end to this fight prematurely. You do not want to push this any further, because if you have to move into the circle, you cannot take that fight between each another. So we'll see where it's going to pop for this next phase. This fight might not go any longer, depending on where it goes.
Fortunately, bad timing, I feel, on the engagement from Sarah, as the circle has shifted up north in favor of DRS and Reject. But whoever comes out on top of this one could be in the top 3 of the whole game. It gives a lot of open area for Valdus to wrap around and hold on and control the northern side of the circle, which has been the case. But it's all the teams down south that have it all to play for, right? You're talking about IA, DS, Yala, Fnatic, Zombies, Nasser, Mythic. There's very little cover inside the south side for all of these teams to control.
Put this into perspective, we currently have only 4 teams out of 12 inside the circle. That's a 1/3 ratio. All the other teams all gonna have to fight for a good position, or we'll lose a lot of players in the process of that rotation actually unfolding.
Exactly.
This is not an easy one. This is the tipping point of where things are going to go bad for a lot of the teams that are unfortunately not already into the circle itself. And we'll have to see how things could work out. Geek fam could be one of the team, and we said it, right? They went for the high ground position very early. It could create a big advantage as Reject go for the engage onto DRS. They clear out one hay bale. There's one more to go, and if you do so, you're literally going to be fully uncontested onto the northern western side of this circle. You will be the king of the field as AJ trying to think a little bit wider and gets mowed down by the opposition. The Japanese team of Reject on absolute fire this game, Imperium.
Really good from Reject. They had to create a controlling start. Sarah got the first knock earlier on. They had to take advantage of that. They breach it in. Mythic now on towards the western side. Fnatic Zombies driving in. IA running and gunning as Navi are getting breached inside the radio tower.
This is the YOLO moment we were talking about. This is the tipping point. You have to take the fight, or otherwise you will get nothing out of this one. Navi, though, still with the high ground position, they are trying to make sure you do not get any closer to their spot. And now IA going for that play. They're getting actually backstabbed by the zombies right behind them, struggling a fair bit. And Fnatic Zombies, they're looking at an opportunity to get as many kills as possible, but they're also possibly going to be mowed down by Navi on the high ground spot. And we're talking about that IA losing almost everyone except Revers, I believe it is, and they are just getting naded down like it's absolute nothing. This is looking like a mini red zone concentrated on their current location, but Navi's got to be careful. This is a hilltop position. You're still opportunistically going to be taken down by teams around you, and so far, Myth and Geek fam are taking that chance to ruin the opportunity of Navi of being on top this game.
Xavier and DS still fighting. Once again, Rabiz is stepping up. Lapis does get Kitsune on the sidelines as Frankie on the ZZP really good from the Xavier. I thought DS Gaming had the better of them, but it seems like the Xavier are going to come out on top. Very nice job by the Xavier.
Okay, that circle is huge for Reject. You've got to be careful. Still got widespread duello, especially being really close to Myth. It could work out for them, but man, this fight is so confusing. You have 4 teams literally right on top of each another almost, and they are all in nade range, but I think that so many came out already. There's no more nades to go for. There's no more nades to use, so you have to go for the shots yourself. Navi, though, despite having so many players knocked, they got back up as a 4-man crew, and that will be enough to take down the opposition of IA, as they are the first team to go down in this 4-way skirmish.
Oh my
Navi,
God.
they'll get into the cars. They want to move away, but another mini red zone drops right on top of the head. That's 3 down. Kitsune is going to be having to take that 5 versus Xavier as they get completely shut down, and Navi will be out in 7th. Xavier, out of nowhere, picked up 9 kills. That's huge.
Good morning, Vietnam. Insane from the Xavier. Opportunistically pulled out. The fact that they were able to take out DS Gaming meant that they were able to then focus on Navi. And Navi weren't aware. They tried to disengage, and they paid the price for it. Fnatic Zombies go down. Finally, 5 teams, 18 players left in the open field finish of a wrangle.
Lamborghini sees a car of another brand, and he's not happy, so he's going to mow that one down. And slow down the attempt of Geek fam to actually get into the circle itself, but they got to get through that field. They're going to do that with the smokes right now, and they're pushing very close to Myth. And Myth has been a relatively passive team this game, I would say, Imperium. So in terms of nades, they must have an insane amount to deal with, and that would make that fight so easy versus Geek fam that has been somewhat struggling to get in that spot in the first place.
Aldous, though, Martin staying on the outside of the circle. Shots are being fired up. The Xavier has 1 knocked down, but 2 are now starting to breach in. Lamborghini and Frankie together. If they can squeeze out Martin and get that knock and a kill onto Martin, that will at least give an opening for a revive onto Rabis. But until that happens, Martin is just going to continue to pressurize and allow the rest of the team to push maybe a little bit more heavily onto the Xavier.
How are Valda's doing it? This is another top 5 game. Back to back to back. And they are maybe going to be turning it into another top 3. And if they can, I mean, you said it earlier, right? Can we see them actually find closer to a game and get themselves a win? If they do so, they'll be creating such a huge lead in the very first day that it'll be really hard to surpass it in day 2, 3, or 4. So other teams around them got to be careful and pay attention that if this team starts running with the lead now, it's going to be really hard to close off that gap afterwards. That's a great shot coming out from QB, but be careful, you're also in range of Myth. He's going to trace some utility back and forth, but the circle's about to shift, and that's going to be the deciding factor of this game, as Snipes has the perfect angle underneath that car, and he gets himself Rio down on his knees, and he's trying to shut down the entirety of Myth. Goes for the spray here, switches over to the M4, taking a lot of damage in the process in the Bloom shot. He's got to switch weapon, but the rest of Geek Fam is there to assist him, and Myth again completely overwhelmed, as only Farok is going to be up and ready to go, but unfortunately has no good spot to fight from.
Like, that was beautiful from Geek Fam, right? Snipes led the way, and then when he started to take a bit of damage, he stepped back, and the rest of the team followed suit, right? Trading the damage and just suppressing your opponents beautifully. Farok can go nowhere as the circle shifts towards Valdez. This is incredible.
Still have a player that's currently a little bit further out. Not sure who it is exactly, but he's trying to make sure he gets rid of the Xavier. I think it might be Martin, yeah, trying to get rid of the Xavier. They're trying to sneak forward. Luckily, they got a rock to play from, so that could create a little bit of an advantage, but great use of the utility. And as you said, Martin is indeed going to be the one trying to be the thorn in the side of the Xavier. Team Myth will be eliminated of this one, so now only 14 remain. The Xavier, 10 kills out of nowhere after that last fight was Navi. Now they're looking to try and take more and more control. Lamborghini on the forefront, Frankie ready to join up too, while leaving Rabbids on the more back end of things to maybe be that insurance for the team. The smokes dissipate, and now it's anybody's game.
Reject. The Japanese team got 1 kill in game 1. Game 2, they did pick it up, grabbing 3 kills, and in this game, they're looking good in the top 4 with 6 kills. Have been very strong on their rotations on the west. But now can they deal with the might of the Malaysian Geek? As their shots are being fired up.
So close. Oh, that was such a close spray. A little bit more to the left, and that would have been a knocked on Duello. Still some utility. They connects. Duello down to 50%. Geek Fam still has a 4-man, and they are trying to take 2 fights at the exact same time versus Reject and also Xavier. But it's actually working out significantly well. Frankie's knocked down first. Duello will be the next one to follow up. Geek Fam are doing God's work on this game, Imperium.
Controlling the south.
Smoke.
Controlling the north.
Oh, that's the run up. That's the bind. Go for it with UMP. Not off bullets, though. You've got to pre-fire, but you've got to be careful when you pre-fire with such a weapon. And he's going to be taken out instantly. Reject out in now 4. 3 teams yet remain. And Valdez is once again get a top 3 back to back to back, making the unthinkable possible in this World Invitational.
They have a full squad. It's all theirs. It's theirs to lose.
Perfect game. There's no escape. Literally nothing you can do unless you get one clutch nade or molly to push them out of a hay bale, then maybe things could work out. Skill is going to be spotted away. Great spray from Snipes. And he's instantly going for the kill. He has the eyes on the prize, Imperium. He wants to get as many points as possible. Now down to 3. Will that be enough for Valdez to get the win? We'll have to see.
And the revive was played out onto QB. So now Geek have a full squad. Valdez are down to 3. Xavier is left to 1. And look at Frankie, he's crawling around. He's looking for information. Let's see if Rabbids can do something with that info.
Yeah, that's a good thing when you're playing in these field finishes. That nade way too close for comfort. I think that just redone his hair for a quick second. But Frankie will be confirmed out by QB. 8 kills over to Geek Fam 2. Seemed like that reposition we talked about, getting the information on the high ground, was so important for them to get in this spot in the first place. And now they're sneaking. And you've got to keep in mind, Imperium, there's a little bit of an overhang that is good in favor of Geek Fam. That's extra information that split-second difference could make the difference indeed in those gunfights versus Valdez and Geek Fam.
Can they breach over the hill? They have no cover. That makes it harder.
That's the Xavier out in 3rd. Nice game, still a lot of kills, and especially being in 3rd, that's 10 position points coming your way, so still a banger for them. Now the fights are going to be happening. Geek Fam still getting pushed away. Concept going to be spotted out. Maybe I caught it a little bit too soon. I thought they were going to be the game coming their way, but no, Valdez are struggling to hold on to the edge, and they are getting completely surrounded by foes. Geek Fam are taking the most control. 6 is going to be still up and ready to go, but he's the last player remaining, and he loses his life in a process.